Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the TRG Central. Of course, it's a channel on YouTube. Today a we're having a treat for you. We'll be using the top horses of the 20th century set for the TRG PC and board games. And what we'll be doing here is we're going to be recreating a project that was done way back in 1981. There was a book published called The Computer Sports Matchups. The book was published in 1981 by Dr. Julian Compton and Bruce Nash. And it was an interesting book. I was enlightened about this book by a good friend of mine that had a request from Eric Simon. What Eric Simon wanted to do is recreate this horse race that's in this book. And the book called it it's actually one of the events in the book, and the race is called the All-Time Thoroughbred Horse Race, which was believed to be run on the Thoroughbred Horse Racing game way back in probably 81 or 80. Well, at least the board game, of course. The computer game hasn't been out yet since I'm the creator of the PC game. And he was wondering if we could recreate that race ourselves, and he could maybe write it up as a discussion piece to be published later. We're also going to try to run it on the board game too. Unfortunately, I'm not very adept here at YouTube, and I'm not going to be able to video the board game running, but at least we can take a look at what would happen on the PC side. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and set up this race and give you the particulars. So, go over to create a race, and we're going to create this from scratch. So the name of the race is the All-Time Thoroughbred. Does help to capitalize when you're supposed to. Let's see, All-Time Thoroughbred Horse Race. Now again, like it said, the book was published in 81, so the race had to be run sometime between 1980 1981 using the board game. Now they selected the Hollywood Park track, and they used a distance of a mile and a quarter, which is 10 furlongs. And back then, that was the medium length of races. If you had an 8 furlong race, it was usually pretty short, and then anything up to 12 furlongs, that would be a mile and a half, would considered to be one of the longer races. And of course, many of you may know that the Kentucky Derby is actually 10 furlongs or a mile and a quarter. So maybe they selected that, although they didn't use Churchill Downs as the hosting track. They used Hollywood Park. Set a condition, we're going to set it fast. All the horses are going to be carrying their normal weight, so there'll be really no handicap, since the weight carry will not modify anything about the horse's car, either positively or negatively. So they'll be running straight off of their cars. because they'll be carrying the amount of weight that they normally would have carried in real life. All the horses are 3 and up. The gender they are all males that'll be entered, but we'll just leave it open just for the sake of being able to use the race and maybe some other time to run maybe all the all-time great filly horses, which fillies, which would be, the fillies and mares, which would probably be another interesting little side project. So competition level, of course, with the quality of horses, we'll be running a grade 1, and we'll be handing out, let's see, a picture with the purse or something. Let's try this. Of 4 million, and if anybody ever wanted to run a stable and entering horses in the field, it costs you $400,000. Obviously, that's not what the original annual entrance fee would be, but when we're playing the game here, we usually use 10% of what the purse is. Okay, we're going to run the race today, and I think that's going to be it for that. So let's go ahead and save the race. Again, we're running at Hollywood Park on a mile and a quarter. You'll see, we'll take a quick look at Hollywood Park. We'll get the video, we'll get the picture up of Hollywood Park, and you'll see down in the lower left corner here, there's a chute for a mile and a quarter. So this racetrack is kind of built for a mile and a quarter race. So probably why they selected it. And you can see right in infield here, there is the base timing chart. So average time is 2:01 and 3/5, and that would be if you would finish right at the finish line. Of course, finishing past the finish line would lower their base time. In real life, let's see, the track record at the time was 1 minute, 58 seconds, and 1/5. So you can see that's about 3 seconds faster than what the average time is. So they have to go past the finish line quite a ways in order to break that record. And that record is held at the time by Quack, Q-U-A-C-K. So I think that's all the info here about the race. Let's go ahead and save it. And now we'll fill in the field. Now, there's one little minor issue here that we have with the field that was in the book compared to the field that we're going to lay out. In the PC game, there are only 10 lanes, which means the max number of horses can be run at 10. For some reason, there was 11. Now, I'm not in the field for the book, and so I'm not sure how they managed to do that in the board game. The board game, of course, looks very similar, has very similar tracks like the PC game. I imagine that what we'll do, we will run all 11 horses in the board game, and we'll add an extra 11 lane outside of lane 10 and let it run for about a furlong or so, so the horse has to be at post-official level and have a chance to get inside, and thus won't need lane 11 for very long in the race. After going over what the book had talked about, we found out that Kelso, his 6-year-old car, which is based, let's put it this way. Kelso is 1963 car based on his age being 6. Finished last in that race. So for this race here, we're going to say that he ain't got a scratch, since he was no factor in the race that was run in the book. Now, in real life, we'll go ahead and real life, yeah. On the board game, we'll put him in the race. Now, he was in lane 10, and Nashua, the 1955 car, there's a 3-year-old within the lane 11. So we'll slide Nashua up to lane 10. So let's go ahead and get this field set up. So the field in the book had Man of War. Man of War is his 1920 car. He was a 3-year-old, and he's rated a 97. And his carrier weight's 138. We'll see how that translates over here. You see his carrier weight's 138, and he'll be first. And the jockey that rode him in real life and in the race in the book was Clarence Coomer. He's rated a 3. The ratings go from 1 to 5, so he's a little above average. Okay, we go to lane 2, post position 2, and swaps. Got the draw for that. Let's move swaps. And then swaps was his 4-year-old car, which is his 1956 car. So we'll slide him over. And normally in 1956, Willie Shoemaker was his normal jockey. But in the board game, they have Longin. So let's go find Longin and override Shoemaker. So we'll be running the horse and the same jockeys that were in the book. Okay, here's Johnny Longin, and we're looking for his 1956 rating, which is a 3. Same as Coomer. Okay, so that overrides Shoemaker on swaps. Okay, post position 3 draw went to Dr. Faker. And we're using a 1968 car, which he was 4 years old at the time. We'll slide him over. And you see he's carrying as much weight as Man of War, 138. Swaps is a little light at 130. But and let's see, and Graza is the original real life jockey on Faker, and that's the jockey that was used in the board game race. So we go to post position 4. That draw went to, yeah, as soon as I find them, went to Secretariat. 1973 is 3-year-old Triple Crown card. And Ron Turcotte is the jockey that rode him in real life and the jockey that rode him in the race from the book. So we go to post position 5, and the draw went to another Triple Crown winner, Citation, his 1948 3-year-old card. And you see a Secretariat max was only 126. That's kind of interesting compared to like Man of War. Average weight carried in his 1920 season was 138. So even though they're compared as being equals or one greater about the other, vice versa throughout the last 50 years or so of horse racing, you see Man of War carried 12 more pounds than Secretariat. Okay, we have Citation in post 5. Post 6 went to Buck Passer. And we'll be using his 3-year car, which is a 66 car. And he's slotted in. And in real life, Fraser was the jockey. And you see, we're already using Fraser on Faker. So we'll replace him. We'll look at Fraser. We're going to replace him with Bloom. That's who was the jockey on Buck Passer in the book. And this is 1966. Grab him. Right there. Now, just an FYI for the game allows you to use the same jockey on various horses in a race or in the field. Normally, the jockey would be rated for different years, but the only time you would normally have this is when in some all-time race. You see, Bresler was rated in 68. He also has a rating in 62, so we could have put Bresler on Buck Passer, but the book opted not to put the same jockey on the different horses in this particular race. But for game purposes on the PC, you can't do that. And of course, the board game, you can really do anything you want. You could have Walter Prim 1966 ride every single horse if you wanted to. Okay, next up in Postvision 7 is Damascus. We'll be using his 67 card, which is also a 3-year-old card. And where they have Shoemaker, the jockey for Damascus. And you see, if you highlight, you see the two main jockeys. The Buck Passer, he only has one. Right, probably rode Buck Passer all of his races in 66. Citation, you see Acado was the main jockey. Secretary only had Trucoke. Trucoke, I think, ran was a jockey on nearly every single one of the Secretariat's races. Definitely in 73. Baker, you can see there's his main was Bresler. Flops was Shoemaker, like we had mentioned. And Kumar is the main jockey for Man of War. Okay, so we have Damascus. We need Postvision 8. And we have Roundtree with the draw. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Roundtree. I'm staring right at the notes, and it's Round Table. 1958. His 4-year-old card. And normally Willie Shoemaker, as you see down underneath on the highlight, Shoemaker was the main along with Ismael Valdez, but they chose Hardick. So let's look at 58. Hardick, see, it's 58, he's a 4 then. Not bad, although Shoemaker was a 5. Okay, and then we go to 9, Postvision 9, and Vertigo got the draw. So Vertigo in this set has 4 cards. Here's a gelding, so he raised quite a bit over his career. And we're going to pull his 76 card as a 6-year-old. You see he was rated at 95. Slide him over. And Justin's is the main jockey for Vertigo. As you can see, he was the only jockey for Vertigo that year. But in the book, they have Pink Lafayette Pinkay Jr. And we got to find 76 rating, which is a 4, which is much better than good. So that's a boost for vertigo. When you say vertigo, it's also one of those huge horses that carry tons of weight. He averaged 137. And then we have mentioned we're going to skip Kelso just so we can look. You can come over here, and Kelso is also gelding, and he has 5 cards rated in this set. And Kelso's 6-year-old card, and you see that's his highest rated in the 94. It won't be used, but we will use him in the board games replay of the race. So we'll skip Kelso, and normally post position 11 was drawn for Nashua, and we're going to use his 3-year-old 55 card, which he was rated at 95, so we'll slide him over. And you can see Akado and Atkinson wrote him in 55. Akado is already being used for citation, so they switched to Atkinson. And we're looking for 55. There it is. Slide it over, and there you have it. That's the field for our all-time thoroughbred horse race, which was the feature event in the favorite and in the computer sports matchup book. So looks like everything is all set. So let's save the field, and it'll tell us if we have any errors on anything. And it looks like it's good. It's saved. We're ready to race. We can click this, or we can go back to the main screen and select it from the list of available races to run. So since we're not going to create anything else, we'll just go ahead and start the race. We've already saved the field, so we're good. And here we are at the at the betting window. So let's say this is the morning odds in the little flyer, the handed out at the beginning of the race day at each of the parks. And you can see there's a wide variation in the book. Let's see, let me bring in the book. We have the odds were much closer. They rose between 250 to 1 to 850 to 1. But you see there's a few horses that got outside of the under $10 to $1. And this morning line is not like the odds. You see, it's based on the dollar. The payoff is 240 for Man of War and so forth. So it looks like the long shot is Nashua, and he's also in lane 10, which is probably going to be extremely difficult for him to get in the money, for second or third. And since the board game didn't have any type of strategies, we're going to just run everything normal, which means we'll be using the results off the card. We're not going to randomize. We have the post-position track is set, and it's not exhibition. So let's go over to Hollywood Park and get this race underway. Okay, here we are at Hollywood Park. As I said before, that we're using the mile and a quarter true left corner. And here is the field as we adjust them, and you hover over each of the numbers, gives you the horse and the jockey. Okay, we're also going to set this race so it runs relatively slow. And you see our normal settings is 10 and 30, which runs it pretty fast. It's probably, I wouldn't say the same speed as a real horse race, because horse race will still take 2 minutes, and this speed probably be in 30 seconds or more less. So anyway, we were practicing, and we got a pretty good race speed of, that's a 30, multiplier 60. Now the higher the numbers, the slower the race is going to be. And we only have a multiplier here because the newer the PCs were. Remember, this was created back in the 90s where PCs were quite slow, and the multipliers didn't need to be used at all to regulate the speed real well on during the race. But once the speeds got quicker and quicker on the PCs, we had to add another factor called the multiplier, and then it's like an exponential type thing to slow the race down even more. So, looks like we're good as far as all the horses are lined up. Trying to think if there's anything else that needs to be done before we get going. I think that's going to be it. Let's go ahead and get over to the Stewart's Tower, see if they're ready to start the race. We're going to run it in spectator mode, like I said, using the speed regulator. So it should be kind of slow enough to see how the race develops and even write notes on who leads to at a particular moment in the race. So let's go ahead and start the race. So the calendar announces everything's good, so we're good to go. And they're off. And as you see here, the horses came out of the gate staggered. That's because we have an initiative rating that's put on each horse to give them just the faster out of the horses an opportunity to get ahead of the pack. So right now, going into the first turn, it's Swaps with the lead and Citation right next to them. Now going into the middle part of the turn. And it's Citation now with a bit of a lead over Round Table and Swap. You can see right down here, here's the orders after each turn. We also have the points to call. This is the speed of the race so far. After 2 points to call, we still have Citation out in front. Where in the world is Secretariat? Right in the middle of the pack. Could be a tough time to break this pack with all of these super horses racing. But we'll see when we get to the home stretch if things open up. So we're finishing up the clubhouse turn, and we still have Citation with the lead. And it looks like we have just one more turn, and we'll have ourselves a winner. Secretary has fallen very far back. Man of War, let's see, which one? He's not doing very well either. It looks like it's going to be Citation, nearly wire to wire, but the matches came up and took second from Round Table and Swaps. Okay, there you have it from Hollywood Park. Let's go to the to the tabulator, and we have citation first. He ran 2 minutes and 2:10, a little over 2 seconds slower than the record time track record by Quack, as we had mentioned earlier. The real life record was 1:58 1/5. So citation takes $2,400,000 with the race, and you can see there was a lot of activity from the attendees here at Hollywood Park. Over $2 million was bet on the pari-mutuel pool, and we had Damascus with the most. Yeah, look at Man of War finishing last, approximately 9 lengths behind the leader. Well, I guess there you have it. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure who actually won the race in the book, as I'm not the one that had the book. It's with Eric Steinman. It was his, since it's his project, he had the book. He gave us the field and the post positions for all the horses, and what jockeys rode the horses and such. And so, there you have it. We have Citation, Damascus, and Flops in the money, and fourth was Round Table. 6 ended up Secretariat, and last Man of War. Okay, well, that's it from Hollywood Park. This is Gary at TCL Central signing off. Hope you enjoyed the race.